welcome to The Other Three Amigos, Las Damas, your weekly unofficial SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division podcast with Declan McCormack, Eileen Ring and John O'Sullivan. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. So sit back, put the feet up, because it's toe tap time.
On this week's Toe Tap Las Damas, in association with NordVPN, Sinead Farrelly retires, we have a record attendance in Galway, and Casey Howe is the SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division Player of the Month for April. We look back at last weekend's fixtures and ask, do Shams do any research? We look ahead to this weekend's fixtures and hope Shams don't do any research. And once again, I've had to randomly drop the NordVPN ad in as I forgot to take a break while recording the pod. All this and much more on this week's Las Damas as we try to figure out who is farting fire. Hello and welcome to Las Damas Season 3 Episode 10 of the once award-winning podcast. It is episode 201 of the full Toe Tap repertoire. As I said, we were once an award-winning podcast. We are now on Patreon at patreon.com/Toe Tap. The retweet is very important to help the pod grow if you can, and our DMs are always open. And this week we are here in conjunction with NordVPN for all your internet security. Do check out the link in our Spotify bio, which will give you a fantastic deal. Look, I'm going to be honest, lads, I have no idea what the deal is, but I'm told it's really, really good. So if you're looking for a VPN, click on that and Nord will look after you. I hope they're not listening to this because we'd probably lose a sponsorship if they are. As always, I'd like to introduce my other two amigos. Firstly, my pal in Turner's Cross yesterday evening for a big occasion, a big game, and a big letdown. It's Eileen Ring.
Evening, lads. How are you? You should have probably given a trigger warning for that NordVPN ad as well, because I nearly crashed my car last week when it came on.
It's like the lads were like, you have to drop it in there, and I was like, I forgot to mention them. I forgot to just drop the ad in somewhere. So when I was doing the intro, I did mention in the intro that look thing, and it is a very toe tap type ad as well, like which was done by an outside contractor now. So it's not actually directly our issue anymore. I don't know, John, do you think the outside contractor gets us out of trouble? I'm not entirely sure myself, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure.
He only gets you in trouble.
He sounds suspiciously like a famous celebrity. I don't know if we get in trouble for that either. By the way, I think the NordVPN ad is half price per month, and then you get 4 months free if you sign up for a year.
Well done, John.
Fantastic, John. I'm glad somebody. Have you signed up?
I have actually. My VPN. I had a VPN and it would with a different company, so I let that lapse and I signed up with Nord there. And all joking aside, they're actually very good.
There you go, folks. What more could you ask for? Testimony, live testimony, and live testimony in the pod and the whole lot. So look, there's nothing else to worry about. Guys, let's get off to a fiery start, a cracking start. This week in Irish women's football, Sinead Farrelly retired. Eileen Ring, please discuss.
I'm conflicted on it all. And we're going to probably argue on it. I wish her the best of luck. Look, I think Sinead Farrelly is someone who came in and she really improved our squad. I don't think she came in solely to play in the World Cup. I think she's someone who, after a very long time out of football, is finding maybe that her body's not up to this level of sport, add in travel and stuff like that. And I think it's just caught up with her. She only played her first game of the season. She missed all her pre-season with Gotham. She missed large chunks of last season with Gotham. But on the other side of it, I think, and if I'm being honest, I think I'm being a little bit blinded by her background story and I suppose her journey, that's something that's incredible. Like if it was maybe another player, I'd just be like, are you having a fucking laugh? But it's not another player and it's her. Look, it's disappointing because I think she's an incredible footballer, a genuinely excellent world-class footballer. And I don't really necessarily get the massive like, oh, what are we going to do without her? Like we've never really had her. Like she was just there for 7 caps. Like, do you know, so have we ever really had her to miss her? But I think that outcry was a little bit odd to me. But yeah, I think if I'm being honest, I'm blinded by her backstory. I think if it was anyone else, I'd be absolutely farting fire over it, but it's not, and the story is what it is, and her journey has been as such. But yeah, look, it's disappointing that we won't see her again in a green jersey, to be honest.
I'll be honest, that's not the reaction I was expecting. So, John, Eileen is blinded by the backstory and isn't farting fire. Are you farting fire?
I was coming on intending to fart fire, but no, Eileen's taken the wind out of my sails completely. No, I look, brilliant footballer, really a backstory that you kind of, that you don't want to go too hard on anyone, but the fact of the matter is she's like someone who really didn't have any caps with us, went to the World Cup, played well over there. But now we've come back, and I suppose a lot of the argument, and I would have defended it at the time, a lot of the argument was, look, this is a player who's amazing, and she's going to be with us for years, and look what she can bring to the squad. And she is amazing, and she's a brilliant player. But the other side of it then is there's players like Jamie Finn who didn't go to the World Cup, and I would be closer to farting fire than leaving her off the hook, to be honest. I get all the... I get the argument that, look, she might not be as able for international football and the travel that's associated with it, especially if you're playing, back and forth to Ireland. But at the same time, I find it hard to justify someone like Jamie Finn being left out of the squad for someone now that their entire Ireland career is 7 senior caps. So yeah, I'd be a little bit harsher than Eileen, I think.
Yeah, you say 7 senior caps, but fundamentally her Ireland career is 3 games, 3 matches that denied Jamie Finn or another player the opportunity to go to a World Cup. And setting aside the backstory and setting all that aside, and look, I don't do that easily, and I fully understand. And maybe it's not on her as the player. Maybe it's on the association, and it's on Vera Poe as the people who brought her in and opened the door and that kind of thing. But to me, it just doesn't sit well at all. And look, I understand people won't agree with that. But as I said, when I saw the announcement, the first words that popped into my head were Jamie Finn. That's the first thought that I had. And it's Eileen, from that point of view, I think it's very disappointing. We discussed this pre-World Cup, and I was very much of the opinion that you shouldn't bring players in over those who got there, especially if there wasn't going to be a commitment from those players to the future of Irish football. And as I said, you can cut it and dice it any way you want, but Sinead Farrelly has come in, played in a World Cup, and ran for the hills. And that hasn't done anything for the development of this squad or the development of Irish women's football going forward.
No, yeah, again, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, as in I don't think she purposely came in with the intention to just run for the hills afterwards. I think that's just circumstance and things like that. But 100%, when I saw the announcement, Jamie Finn was the first name that came into my head as well, because her of everyone that had been there the whole time. I think Eileen Gleeson's statement or maybe lack thereof was telling enough about maybe how management feel about it. Players on social media, if they're pissed off, they probably just won't put anything out, but they're all speaking in really glowing terms of her, which I found a little not strange, but obviously she's had an effect on the squad when she was in there. But yeah, no, look, I said I understand why people are really thick over it and how it looks from the outside. And I said that was probably my initial thought. But yeah, with hindsight and setting back and looking at a big picture, I suppose for her personally, she's somebody who knows more than anyone that there's more to life than football. And I think she's taken the decision that's right for her and for her health. And as he said, look, it leaves us, you kind of feel a little bit used, but at the same time, as I said, I don't think that's necessarily her intention when she declares for Ireland, but it's something that should be looked at obviously going forward, because we're never going to not have a granny rule. It's going to be something we always rely on, so that if we are bringing people in, that it is with a long-term kind of goal in mind, and that you don't have a circumstance like that again in the future where, look, said she is still playing, so technically she should be capable of being called up, but obviously, look, I said she feels that's not right for her. But yeah, look, disappointed. I suppose that's that's ultimately my main feeling. If I just take the people out of it and circumstance, I'm disappointed that we won't see her again in an Irish shirt.
Okay, I was going to keep going, but you know what? I won't. We leave it there because I don't think there's a whole lot more to be said on the subject. John, on a brighter note, yesterday in Eamon DC Park, Galway managed to pull an attendance of 2,861 people to watch their game with DLR, doubling the previous attendance record. It's a phenomenal achievement, is it not?
Oh, it's bonkers. Like, I saw the figure. Like, it's looking back at the game, it looked quite busy and quite full, but I guess no one realised how many people were in the stand under the cameras. It's phenomenal. The work that must have gone into that to get a bigger attendance at the women's game on the Saturday than had been at the men's game on the Friday is outstanding. Look, to be honest, Galway United, it's just setting them up as the best club on and off the field this season. Phil Trill, when he was on at the start of the season, said they were going to be targeting a big attendance and targeting that record. And boy, did they deliver on it. Way past anything I was expecting. When you hear about, you know, a club looking to beat the record, they didn't just beat it, like they absolutely annihilated it. There's probably been FAI Cup finals in Tallaght that haven't had that attendance. It's phenomenal. Fair play to them. They were brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I'm at the point now where Galway United could come out, release an official statement, basically that says, look, lads, Las Damas podcast is absolute shit. Nobody should be listening to it. This is what we here at Galway United say. And I'd come on the following week and go, you know what, Galway United are absolutely right. Nobody should be listening to us. This is absolute crap, you know. That's how much I now believe in Galway United women as a club and how they do things. You know, Eileen, we were in Turner's Cross and we were kind of waiting for this figure to come because you had said there was a big crowd there. We knew it was a big crowd, but we didn't know what the number was. And when we saw the number, the first words out of my mouth were f***ing hell. Cork City were also trying to break the record, and obviously once that number comes in, the Cork City effort is dead in the water. No, they didn't get to the original number anyway. They got to 803, which was quite a good attendance, but it's kind of the chances of this being broken over the next year or two are absolute minimal. Like,
yeah, very minimal. I think, like, obviously there's been a huge effort goes in there off the pitch, like, and it's like, as John said there, that Phil had mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. So, like, this is probably 2 months in the working and a huge amount of volunteers. You have everything working in the background. But that's the thing, they were working in the background. This isn't something that's been overtly in our face on social media all week. Like, you could see that they were looking for an attendance. They had different schemes with tickets and stuff. They've obviously been to schools. I've spoke to a couple of people up there, but it wasn't something that nationwide was in all our faces. So maybe we were less aware of it. But as soon as I turned on the stream the other day and you could see the fans behind the goal, and I was like, oh. And then Jenna scored a penalty, and it was the noise when she scored a penalty. I was like, oh, there's a massive crowd there, because like it was like, I've never heard a sound like that at a women's game, to be honest, not on LOI TV anyway. But obviously where the camera was, you still can't really see, but when it spans, you could see the stand across from it is quite full, and there's people behind the other goal, and obviously subsequently the stand where the camera is full. But I think it's helped by two things. I think it's helped by the fact that they play a brilliant brand of football, and that's what you always say, Decky. Like, those people will want to come back because they were excellent. We'll talk about the game in a while, but they were brilliant. Again, they play this really, really good brand of football, and I think that's been a project. And while I think Phil will obviously be quick to share praise around, and rightly so, to volunteers, like, it does fall on him ultimately. He's the manager, and he's had this project and this belief in this squad, and it's coming to fruition. And I think with regional clubs, that's what they probably stand a better chance of kind of maintaining that support and growing with it, because if the club is successful, as said, everybody buys into it. Like, we're the same here in Cork. If Cork City are doing well, the whole area will buy into it. Like, and that's something I think that's exciting to see going forward with Galway. Their next thing now is going to be, can you get them in when they're paying in the gate? Like, this was a thing for years in England when they were getting bigger crowds. Can you get a big crowd when they're all paying in the gate? And that's the next step. But for right now in Ireland, it has to be about building it. And I think this is the first year in England where everyone's been charged going in the gate. Like, so that'll tell you, like, we're another few years down the line with that. But brilliant. And as I said, I hope that a lot of those people will be back. And with the football they played the other day, I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of younger kids, male and female, left that ground like thinking of those players as heroes, like, and that's what we want to see. And we always say it, like, if you build up the players, they're our product and they're the superstars, and make superstars of them, because they're fantastic.
Yeah, John, finally on this, Eileen touched on it there. It was like they gave away tickets for free. They made no mention of seeking to break an attendance record. We spoke last week here that Cork City were making an attempt on it. I had no idea that Galway were attempting it. And when they tweeted the attendance, they tweeted in, "We have broken our own attendance record." And then they came back an hour later and went kind of, "Oh, it looks like we've also broken the national record," you know? So it looks like the idea of breaking an attendance record wasn't front and center in their thinking or how they were doing things. It was just about getting as many people as we possibly can into the ground and try and build on that then going forward when you are looking for people to sell tickets. It's probably in hindsight a better way for clubs to do things than to put all the eggs in the basket, because there's no sense of failure. If Galway got 800 fans yesterday, then they're thinking, okay, it's great, we got 800 fans. Whereas Cork City got 800 fans, and this isn't to go in any way at Cork City, but had it put it out there all week, we want to break the record, we want to break the record. So inevitably there's a feeling that, well, you didn't break the record, so he failed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and look, like City's attendance really, 803 was brilliant. And like the Piedmont game, first game of the season, I think we had like 570, 580. So
Yeah.
like if City can keep maintaining that kind of level, City could still end up with the highest average attendance over the season. Do you know, so like, but I agree with you. The Galway's approach was less about breaking the record and seemed more to be about, we've got something really special here on the pitch, come see it. And the DLR game where they were always like likely to win probably only cemented how good they are on the field. And it was about, it being about themselves rather than some kind of national record, probably in hindsight was the best way to play it.
Without a doubt. Look, hat tip to everybody in Galway. As we said, Sam O'Neill is the guy who does all their marketing over there. He only joined them this year and he's been absolutely knocking it out of the park. Phil mentioned him by name when the night he was on with us. So I presume Sam had a big role to play in this again. So look, congratulations to everybody at Galway anyway on that fantastic achievement. Another achievement this week, Eileen, was Casey Howe won the Player of the Month for April. Nobody can really have much of an argument with that, I guess, can they?
No, not at all. And like, not just at club level, but she obviously represented Northern Ireland in the qualifiers as well. So like a brilliant month for her personally. And very deserving winner, a really exciting player, great signing for Athlone, and like she's just kicked on really a level, I think, from where she was at Sligo last year, this year. So yeah, fair play to her and big congratulations.
The only thing about Casey Howe, John, is that nobody ever let us know whether that was a training ground move or not when she pulled wide right against Piedmont. From the throw-in and then the hook ball over the shoulder into, you know. So, lads, I still want to know if there's anybody at Lone was willing to tell me, was that a trading ground move? I'd be very appreciative of. But that, John, look, I mean, Casey Howe had a great month, as Eileen said, and more power to her.
Yeah. And I think, look, that televised game against Piedmont, you know, she kind of put herself in, you know, in the front runner stakes for that, because she was outstanding that night. But look, she's had a great month. She's been a brilliant player, and well deserved. No arguments from me.
Finally, before we move on, we got a DM during the week from a listener. Now, it just so happens it is a Cork City listener. But I just want to read this out because it was lovely to get. So because it's DM, it will remain anonymous. But it just says, "Story lads, been listening to the pod since it began and rarely if ever miss an episode of the men's pod, but never got into women's football. I'm a huge podcast listener in general though, and all the LOI podcasts come out midweek, LOI Central, Between the Stripes, obviously Toe Tap. He also mentions a club podcast, but I'm not going to mention that, you know. So I have a void from Saturday to Tuesday. Anyway, I started listening to Las Damas the past few weeks to fill that void because it's out on Monday, and I've been absolutely loving it. Started watching the City women's games on LOI TV and following the league results. Can genuinely say that my interest is solely as a result of listening to Toe Tap, and I'll now be bringing my 7-year-old niece to the Treaty game for her first ever football match at the weekend. Just wanted to let you know that you're definitely growing the interest in the league. Cheers, lads, and keep it up. So, John, lovely DM to get there from somebody who has absolutely no interest in the women's game 3 months ago, and now is bringing his niece to her first ever football game, or brought his niece to her first ever football game on Saturday night. And he's saying his thanks to us. So that's cool.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. That's very nice, actually. Lovely message. Yeah, but sure, look again. The league, once you come in the gate, sells itself. The quality is brilliant. Players are brilliant. So if we helped him get in the door, I'm sure he'll keep coming back because he had a good game to watch on Saturday too.
Absolutely. No, we did get a second DM about Wexford, and it's nowhere near as nice as that, but I'll read it in a minute when we're talking about Wexford. We'll move on to the underage results. In the under-17s, Group A, Bows beat Dundalk 6-1, Drogheda and Longford drew 1-1, and Shelbourne beat Shamrock Rovers 4-3 in a big game. That's a big result. First defeat for Shamrock Rovers this season. Group B, Peamount 4, Mayo 0, DLR 0, St. Pat's 2, Galway 3, Sligo Rovers 2, and Treaty 1, Athlone 5. And in Group C, Kerry 2, Wexford 2, Waterford beat Cove, and Cork City 2, CK United 1. In the under-19s, Group A was Peamount 2, Dundalk 2, and Finn Harps 0, Bows 3. Group B saw Shamrock Rovers win 3-2 in Athlone, Galway beat DLR 2-0 in Galway, and Sligo won 5-0 away in Bray. And in Group C, CK United 5, Cove 1, Waterford 0, Wexford 2, and Cork City 7, Treaty United 2. John, as always, I'll ask you, anything there jump out at you?
I think the big one that jumps out there is the Athlone Shamrock Rovers game from today, the under-19 game. Athlone were 2-0 up, and Rovers came back to win 3-2, with about 10 or 15 minutes to go. So it's a massive result because it actually put Shamrock Rovers top of that group in the under-19 group. And look, I suppose have to give Wexford a mention as well. They're 8 from 8 now, 100% record in their women's under-19 group. So look, fair play, they're flying it. But yeah, the Athlone's Shamrock Rovers game today was kind of the one that jumped out at me, to be honest.
I feel like you're trying to tip me over the edge or something at times, John, because like that Wexford team, okay, look, they're 8 for 8, but I mean, there's a couple of players in there who are in their 7th or 8th season under 19 at this stage, like from what I can see.
You're a bitter man.
I think there was... look, the rules allow you to play overage players. Like Maeve Williams started, Mia O'Connell was there. I think Freda Monge is still under 19, but I think they had 4 players that were overage. But look, the rules allow it. That's how Ellen Malloy got to play in. Well, actually, Ellen was under 19 last year, so I'll shut up about that. But yeah, no, they the vast majority of that team that started today though was under 19, and they're hoovering up really good talent. Like Leah McGrath came on in the senior game yesterday, and she's still only 16. So I don't think she played today, but she was eligible again. So look, Norwegian fishing trawler.
I was just going to say they don't hoover, they trawl. Just remember
they
that.
Trawl.
Yeah. Okay, look, we'll park it there because I'll just be accused of all sorts of shenanigans again. We'll move on to the senior games on Saturday, guys, and the match reviews. As always, we'll take them by starting time. Shells beat Bows 1-0 in Talca, Eileen. Noel Murray with an absolute humdinger of a goal. I also saw Shelbourne tweeting that was Noel's 100th goal for her in only 173 Shelbourne appearances. That's an insane record. It's better than 1 and 2, obviously.
Yeah, and she's not an out-and-out striker either. And probably 80 of those have been absolute belters. She's an incredible footballer. Look, obviously it's no secret that I am a huge Noel Murray fan. But she's I don't mind saying I genuinely believe she is the most talented footballer we have ever produced as a country. You can't coach what she does. It's just, you could have someone and train them every hour in the week and you're not going to get to be able to do what she does. The only other player in the league that would come close to being able to do what she does is Ellen Malloy. Like, it's just that, as I said, it's that kind of X factor. And as I said, I don't think you can coach it as much as people might try to. But do you know what stood out to me with the 100 goals? First of all, I think she was on 99 for a couple of weeks, and it just gave me a laugh then when they were talking to her afterwards, because as soon as they say 99 goals to someone, like, I know Kylie Murphy was the same at Wexford, like, she was like, why did you tell me I'm on 99 goals? The 100 kind of took a bit longer than they might like to come around. But it's the names like that have scored 100 goals for Shelburne, like Jason Byrne, Stephen Gagan. Like, these are names of people I really don't like as a football fan, obviously, but like, incredible footballers. So for her to be in that company, and like, look, I only don't like them because they broke my heart on many an occasion. But no, I think huge credit to her. And I probably say it most times we talk about Shelburne, I think she's worth an entrance fee into any ground, because when she's on it and when she turns it on, it's special to watch. It was a really good game, Shelburne and Bowes. I really, really enjoyed it. I think Ken Kiernan, I don't want to say, yeah, like, because there's no room really for moral victories, like, but I think he'll be really proud with how Bowes performed. I thought they were very, very good. The way they set up, they were very solid defensively, obviously, and they have been all season. Rachel Kelly is excellent for them in goal, and like, she really does kind of set them up so well. And you can hear her, like, she talks nonstop. You can hear her like quite audibly during all of their games. And I saw someone said maybe after, will she be a bit disappointed with the goal? And maybe she will, but like, that's keeper's positioning now. Like, there's no keeper stays on the line anymore. Like, so I think it's kind of hard enough to falter for that. But I thought they were excellent, like, and they were so defensive. And Alana McAvoy was up top on her own, and she did brilliantly on a couple of occasions when the ball got up to her, like, to hold it up and to bring other people in. I think they'll probably be a bit disappointed that they hadn't scored. They hit the post just before half time. Again, brilliant play from McAvoy holding it up, and she brought out, I think it was Shauna Carroll in. She great effort, and it hit the crossbar. And then into the second half, they were more of an attacking threat. I think Shelburne were pushing forward a little bit more. And what was interesting to see with Noelle this week was she was pressing, and she was really encouraging. I'm going to say encouraging. She was giving out to the other players around her for not doing the same. And you don't really see that with her. Like, she's not the most vocal of players on the pitch unless she's giving out to the referee or something. But like, to be encouraging her teammates and pulling people around her, she's not that type of player. So it was a really interesting thing to see. But the other players fed off it, like, without, like, and quite visibly. But Shauna Carroll, again, like, I think she didn't sleep last night, like, for sure, because there was just before Noelle had just before she scored the goal, Katie Lovely had put an incredible ball into the box, and Shauna Carroll was coming in at the back post, and like, it was a sitter, like, and she just missed it. And 3 minutes later, Noelle's after scoring that unbelievable goal, and brilliant header from Rachel in the centre of the park to find Noelle, who's, as I said, look, we spoke about the goal already, it's brilliant. But it's just hard once Shelburne score. Like, they're so good defensively. Like, Kiva, Pearl, I think a special mention has to go to Lucy O'Rourke. I think she's been brilliant. I said to you there a while ago, it must be a lot of fun as a younger player coming into the team, like, when you're the one player kind of breaking through at the start of the season, because everyone is there to help you. Everyone is there, and like, she's thriving. She's been one of their best players this season, like, and her set piece delivery, her crosses in play, all excellent. And then Amanda behind them again, she made a few brilliant saves. I know now, Declan, you love the team of the week, but I was surprised Amanda wasn't in the team of the week for the second week in a row. Like, I thought she was brilliant, like, when called upon. But those games were close, and I said that game would be close last week. But again, another clean sheet for Shelburne, and like, they're looking better and better as it goes on. Will they have thought they could have scored more? Absolutely they will. But Rachel Kelly was excellent at goal for Bowes as well. She made some brilliant saves, and if you haven't seen them, just go back and fly through even rewatch the game on LOI TV, because it's a cracking game of football, real end-to-end stuff, especially in that second half.
John, that reminded me there of one of the old political broadcasts on behalf of Fianna Gael or Fianna Fáil, except it was on behalf of Shelburne Football Club by Eileen there, you know. But
I'm just trying to get on their podcast like you, Declan.
Yeah. I mean, I presume you're going to be voted chairperson of the Shelburne Supporters Club again this year. Anyway, there's no fear of you
kind of
losing that position.
blacklisted by Cork City. So look, I hope hopefully some other club will accept me.
Did you see the video that Shells put up of Noel from the Wexford game during the week?
Yeah.
It was unreal, and like just look, Eileen summed the game up perfectly there, so there's no need to go revisiting it. But Shells put up a game, and it was basically camera on Noel Murray at Wexford, little tricks, possession of the ball, beating players, and the thing is, like, she can do that every single game, and they got about 5 minutes of just Noel Murray being brilliant, and it was it's unreal, and you're just watching it, and like, yeah, look, 100 goals is unbelievable, but look, she's just what a player, like Eileen said. I wouldn't be as big a member of the fan club. I don't think anyone is as big a fan as Eileen, but
number one fan.
She's special talent.
Can I just ask very quickly? So Eileen, obviously Noel is exceptionally gifted. She's not afraid to leave a leg in there. She's not afraid to let a referee know she's around, or a centre half let her know that she's around, or an opposition manager or a coach for that matter. But how come she's still League of Ireland based? So if with all that ability and all that going for her.
Well, she did. Like, after the season, they won the double, that Leanne Kiernan Cup final. She was where she scored the hat trick, or they beat Noel that season. She was unplayable that season. Shelburne won the league, and obviously she had Leanne up top as well. So they were really, really good to watch that year. But she did go to Glasgow after that. I don't know. I think she loves Dublin. She's a home bird. I would think that plays heavily into it. For me, I think international cap wise, she should have way more. But now people will laugh at this, but like, because she's calm now, relatively calm compared to what she was like, and maybe people thought in the past she was a risk, like, because she was liable to do anything. I think the wisdom of age has calmed her slightly. I don't think that'll ever go for her from her game, and nor should it, because, as I said, it makes part of the player as well. But yeah, for me, technically, I don't think anybody comes close to her. And I've heard a lot of really high level, like, I know Olivia O'Toole thinks the same, and if Olivia O'Toole thinks the same about you, you're not doing too badly now at all, I think.
While all that was going on, John, Peamount were, how do I phrase this? Peamount were teaching Shamrock Rovers a lesson, is what I'm going to say in Tala. We had spoken about Peamount going 3 at the back, Jetta Burr getting up the pitch and causing mayhem, and it looked like Shamrock Rovers had never seen it. They'd never watched the Peamount video. They'd done no research. They'd done nothing, because they just hadn't. Well, to me, watching the game, it just looked like they were just like completely taken by surprise.
Yeah, they actually, to be fair, they started very, very well. The first, actually, up until Peamount's first goal, Rovers were arguably the better team. I thought Joy Ralph up front was really good. She started off.
They were. I'm just going to cut across that. They were the better team, but Peamount were causing them problems down that side all game.
Oh yeah,
down the Jetta Burr side, down all game. And my point is, Rovers had no answer to it when all the evidence was there, and in my view, they should have had an answer for it, and they should have been able to deal with it. And eventually it caught them. But I'm not saying they weren't a better team. I'm just saying in that very specific area of 3 at the back, with Jetta Burl being up the pitch as a wide player, as I said, as I said, it was like they were taken by surprise, and I don't understand how or why.
Yeah, that's true. Like even lay people like ourselves spoke about that Peamount's last 2 games, and the reason Karen Duggan was put back into defence, and Eileen has said it 2 weeks in a row, that it's to free Jetta up, and that she has that pace and she can add to the attack. So obviously Rovers weren't listening to us and Eileen's advice, which is always a mistake. But Rovers did start well. Joy Ralph turned Karen Duggan a couple of times early on, and she hit one shot, hit the crossbar, which was absolutely unbelievable. Like, it would have been contender for goal of the season. She was excellent. The funny thing was, like, as soon as Aaron McLaughlin scored, it was like Rovers were like a deflated balloon. It's like they had one plan, that we're going to do this, and then when Peamount scored, they had no answer at all. And even before Peamount got the second, they were just so comfortable. Like it's a strange thing to say, because the quality of players Rover have, but Peamount hardly got out of second gear for the rest of the game. Do you know? Their goals were very good, well worked, nice patches to play, but like Rovers didn't really lay a finger on them, and kind of. I don't know. I like we spoke about this in the chat, but like early in the season, I was on this pod like talking about Scarlett Hearn getting an international call up. She was that good, and for some reason they've moved her out wide, and she's not as effective. And they miss her there, and I don't know why they've made that change, but they like the amount of space that Frey Healy, Erin McLaughlin, Ellen Dolan were getting up the centre, and like it was easy for Peamount, to be honest. I probably shouldn't be saying so much about Shamrock Rovers the week before they come down to Cork City, but that facts are facts. Like Peamount, that's as easy a game as Peamount could have expected against Shamrock Rovers, given the quality that Shamrock Rovers have. They just Rovers once Peamount scored, Rovers weren't really at it, and like, they'll know that themselves. Like the videos there to watch back.
Eileen, the Scarlett Heron, like I felt sorry for Scarlett Heron, I'll be honest, which is John says there they've moved her, not alone did they move her wide, they moved her left back. And it's almost like this was the big answer to the Peamount conundrum, was to play Scarlett Heron left back, which to me was just a very poor coaching decision. And then, of course, when it doesn't work, it's Scarlett Heron gets whipped at halftime, and they go do something else, and it looks better in the second half. But I think it looked better in the second half because Peamount were 2-0 up at half time, and they're not going to push on second half the way they did in the first half, so it doesn't become as big an issue. But Rovers fundamentally started with what I think are two defensive midfielders, and when I saw the lineup, I thought, okay, that's there because one of them is going to cheat left every time. So if they get done on that side, there's a defensive midfielder covering across to give that extra protection. That didn't happen. Shauna Fox then has to cheat left, and therefore the whole Shamrock Rovers defence is moving left, and Erin McLaughlin is an intelligent enough player to identify, well, if they're all going left, I'm going right to where all the space is. And especially the second goal is just a long ball into that space. McLaughlin picks it up, and I put, as I often do, I put things into the chat where you can see the Shamrock Rovers back four, and it's like a U, a horseshoe. There's no structure there. They're just all over the shop. And look, Jess Hennessy's efforts, like McLaughlin is there, and you're saying, like, don't leave her on. She wants to come onto her right foot. She wants to bend it in the top corner. So as a centre half, you have to send her left. And to be fair, Jill Hennessy doesn't, and she kind of stands off. And McLaughlin uses Hennessy as a shield and just curls that ball into the top corner, and it's game over 40 minutes in, because Rovers still look like they have a lack of firepower as well, Eileen, which adds to other issues that they seem to have.
Yeah, I think John described Rovers best. Like, I thought Rovers were good in the first 10 minutes, and as soon as the goal goes in, like, I mean, you can visibly see every single player in that Shamrock Rovers team, they all drop, like their heads drop, their body language just changes. I think he's having issues finding out what his best team is. I think he's trying to fit, since Maria Reynolds has come back fit, he's trying to fit her in. You can't drop Aoife Kelly because she's probably been arguably maybe their best player since they've come into the league. He's obviously trying to fit Maria in there. And it is at the cost of Scarlett Heron, who offers something totally different. Like, she is an engine and she will run all day. And she's been brilliant since she came to them midway through last season. So, like, I just think he doesn't seem to know who to play where, and they have no confidence. Like Jess Hennessy and Shauna Fox have been two of the best centre halves, if not two best centre halves in the league for the last 2 years. Jess has been in the team of the season the last 2 years. Shauna was unlucky not to be in it last season. I think she may have been in it the year before when she was at Shelburne. They're like players who haven't played football before, like some of the defending. Like, it's not that Aaron McLaughlin, I think, is probably the best player in this league at picking up space, like at picking up pockets of space where you think there's no pockets of space. So when you're making it blatantly obvious, like that it's space I could see that is there to be picked up, she's going to find it quite easily. Like, I don't understand what's going on at Shamrock Rovers. I said, I get the confidence thing, and we spoke last week that they were coming off a bye week, and that was bad for them because they were after obviously having a big win the week before, and that was the hockeying that the manager had said they were going to give aside. But then they revert to this week, and I know we had said in the group as well the thing with Leo O'Leary, and like I called it like the Katie McCabe conundrum, like that. Do you play her further forward because she offers so much, but then you're losing what she has defensively, and like they have to make up their mind about where she's more valuable or where the balance in the team is to be. And right now, he doesn't seem to know that. I think the manager there has a lot of questions to answer. Like, I don't necessarily look. Obviously, of course, players have to be better, and these are all really, really good footballers. But he can't get them playing together, and that's the issue there. Like, I mean, there's no reason they should be struggling like they are. And while I'm criticising one manager, huge credit has to go to James O'Callaghan, because they came in to this season with injury after injury, and they obviously struggled in the start, and he made a massive change. Like, that was a big formation change. And like, that's a credit to his coaching. Look, again, it's easy if you have players like if Karen Duggan that can she's so good, like you can put her in goal and she'd be good. Like, but it'll be seamless because of the quality of players. But at the same time, it's a gamble that he took, and it's really paid off for them. And from a Peamount point of view, like Chloe Maloney came on late, so she's coming back. So they're starting to get players back now. And I think for them, they're after two big results now on the bounce, like that draw to Galway and now winning in Tala. Like, they're two really big results for them. And I think they're suddenly going to be looking at the season a bit differently than they were 4 weeks ago.
Can I just say, Eileen, as well, you've spoken about how many times about how Peamount were maybe lacking that little something up front. But I have to say, I thought Avril Brearley was very, very good for them yesterday. You know, and she put herself around, she won the ball at times, she held it up and she got them up the pitch and she allowed them to play as well. You know, she may not have been a threat in front of goal, but she didn't have to be because McLaughlin was running beyond her and things like that, you know. So I think she did the job very, very well that Peamount needed her to do yesterday.
Yeah, and I have a personal issue with Avril Brearley, because years ago I was managing a Douglas Hall side. We went up to play Shelburne and she destroyed us single-handedly on her own. So I'm not going to say anything nice about her because I'm still upset from that game. It's a long road back to Cork after that, to be honest. So I shouldn't be criticised. I shouldn't criticise Callie O'Neill because I couldn't figure out how to deal with her either, Callie. So it's okay.
Well, look, at least you're not bitter anyway and don't hold grudges. So that's the most important thing. John, just very quickly to wrap it up. Eileen there said it looks like Rovers don't know how to play together. I would put it to you this way, in that I don't think the manager wants to make a big decision. You know, Eileen has said that Aoife Kelly has been their best player since they come back into the league. Now Maria Reynolds is back fit and he's trying to fit everybody into the team. But like, there has to be big calls made when you have a big squad with the quality that Rovers have. It's up to a manager to make a big call. And like, to me, the Leo O'Leary thing, when it's Heron and O'Leary on the left, then surely it has to be O'Leary as the left back and Heron playing in front of her. It can't be Heron at left back because it's unfair on Heron. That's not her game. That's not her spot. And O'Leary in front. And to me, it really looks like it's square pegs and round holes type stuff going on now at the moment. And he has to make a big call. Maybe you can play Reynolds and Kelly together. Maybe it has to be one of them with Heron next to them to get the best out of it. But somewhere along the line, a big call is going to have to be made, and it has to be made quickly in regards to the selection. And some big names are going to have to sit in the bench.
Yeah, look, that's the reality of it. Like, I mean, Rovers have an embarrassment of riches, really, in a lot of respects. But that's the job. Is like, part of it is not so much managing egos, but managing the talent you have appropriately. Yeah, and look, I think Eileen has nailed it. Maria Reynolds being available has it's pushed Scarlett Hearn out of where she was excelling earlier in the season, and I don't think you can. I think if you're trying to play Kelly, Hearn, and Reynolds in the same team together, you're automatically playing one of them out of position, or you're putting one of them in a position where they're not at their best. So yeah, tough calls, but look, that's something they're going to have to sort out fairly quickly, because look, I think they're only 2 points ahead of the bottom place DLR at the moment. Like, it's not the start of the season that Rovers would have wanted.
No, definitely not. I mean, there's only three clubs in the country now who haven't won a game. DLR, understandable. Sligo, understandable. And Shamrock Rovers. I don't want to say understandable because they're in Turner's Cross next Saturday, and we all know what will happen. Like, if I start to...
Oh yeah, they're going to batter us. Like, they're listening to this now, they're going to play it in the dressing room.
Yeah, we absolutely understand that. But look, I mean, it is what it is, and we'll have to park it there. I said we had a DM about Wexford, so I'm going to read it before we have a quick chat about their magnificent victory over Sligo Rovers on Saturday. Obviously a DM, so it's going to remain anonymous. Hi lads, I was listening to the Las Damas section on Wexford in the pod, and I have to say I disagree with your assessment of the players. The 11 who started versus Shells was not great in my opinion. The squad is fairly top heavy and really lacks in defence and central midfield, and the players in those positions aren't great and all do similar things. Their goalies are all young and wouldn't play for any other top, in inverted commas, teams. The front line is largely young girls and lack of creativity outside of Malloy and Rossi. They lack a true nine with quality and seem to have turned to the under-19s to try and find one. With the appointment of an underage manager from the Men's League of Ireland, a squad who disappointed last year, and a lack of top signings, I expected them to struggle. The girls lack structure, and this only worsens the lack of quality and creativity in the team. I agree with Decky. Just going to pause there for dramatic effect. That they are where they deserve to be, and while Hugh Strong will likely get the sack, probably deservedly, the squad is not one to be pulling up trees, in my honest opinion. So we have a man here calling for Hugh Strong to get the sack, probably deservedly. No, I didn't say that, and I never issued any kind of thing. So when he says he's agreeing with me about Wexford are where they deserve to be. I never had an opinion on Hugh Strong. Eileen, 4-1 winners against Sligo. I mean, Sligo were down to the absolute bare bones, so I'm going to be really, really harsh and say I'm not sure what Wexford can really take out of that result.
They can take 3 points out of the result. That's all they... That's all they wanted to take out of it.
No, that is true.
Do you know what I mean? That's circumstance, and it's unfortunate for Sligo that they're in a position where they're missing so many players, but like Wexford could only beat who are in front of them, and that's something they've struggled to do a lot this season. So look, they're going to be looking at it that they've kind of got the monkey off the back with getting the win in the league, getting off the bottom of the table. Is that correct? Yeah. And look, they scored a couple of goals as well. Like, to be fair, the person who messaged there, he wasn't far wrong. Ellen Malloy and Ciara Roster, he was fairly on the button, wasn't he? But I thought they were good. But like, yeah, as you said, I you don't want to read too much into it. I think next week will probably tell a lot more about them. But said you can only beat who's in front of you. I thought Ciara Roster was brilliant. I think Rossi is brilliant. All her goals are really, really well taken. Very well worked goals. Ellen Malloy's was a really well worked goal. I don't think Sligo didn't offer much, and I said I felt for them because it's just one of those circumstances where, like, when you're down in your luck, you're down in your luck, and to be missing that amount of players is really, really difficult. And then you double that into a long journey, a long away trip. They've had a tough start to the season, and it's really hard. Like, and obviously, since you said they were going to be surprise packages, like they've really struggled, Declan.
I ghost them.
Yeah, look, Wexford just needed the win. They needed the win, and they probably needed to do it in the manner that they did it. And as I said, it was very comfortable. And I think regardless of who they were playing, I think they will take a lot of confidence from that. They're not going to look at it and say, well, it's like we're missing. They're just going to look at it. There's 3 points. We scored 4 goals. Onwards to Athlone next week.
John, the push for the top 3 is up and running.
There's a few interesting things. Rossi was brilliant, but she was playing much more central than I would have expected. And it was really like they really went to overload the central midfield. Malloy, Murphy, Clancy and Rossi were almost on top of each other at times. And at the start of the game, they had these lovely interchanges of passes, but they weren't really breaking the line. And the first goal comes from, the ball bouncing around a bit, and it falls back to Keola Bergen, who plays a lovely ball into Ellen Malloy, and she finishes really, really well. And the second goal as well, even though it's a lovely finish from Rossi, it was the same kind of story. They were down in front of goals, and it's actually the ball bobbles around a bit, and Rossi does what would you call it? It's not quite a scissors kick, but an absolutely amazing finish into the top corner. But in between that, Kelly Crompton had scored, just after half time, ball into the box, really good header. But she had an even better, she had an easier chance a couple of minutes later. I do actually kind of disagree. I think Jane Murr, with the person who sent in the DM, I think Jane Murren's a very good keeper. I know she's young, but what she had to do yesterday, she did quite well. And I think I don't know how you can look at like a midfield of Evie Clancy, Kylie Murphy, Ellen Malloy, Michaela Lawrence, Schumer Duff, Freda Monge, people like that, on the bench, and say they all kind of do the same thing. I wouldn't agree with that at all. I think their problem is just the final third, possibly the lack of a 9, but I thought Keola Bergen played quite well there on at the weekend. She is very young, but yeah, overall I thought they were quite good. But again, Sligo were down to the bare bones. So like you said, Decky, it's very hard to know if they can repeat that next week.
I mean, Emily Corbett was arguably the best striker in the league her year at loan, and she's gone down to Wexford and it just hasn't worked for her at all. Like, can you put your finger on why, Eileen?
No, I can't. I think last year they were trying to fit her in with Rihanna, and I just think as a pairing, they didn't click, and then they were putting her out wide. And I'm surprised that she hasn't got more of a chance as kind of that out and out 9 this season, like in the absence of Rihanna, that like where she's just, and given, like we speak about with Gemma Quinn and Shelburne, given that run of games, because I suppose she would have played that role so well at Athlone, and when she went to Wexford, she was playing a different role, like because she was there with Rihanna, or she was expected, like Rihanna was the focal point and it was everything around her. And we haven't, even when she's come on this season, it's kind of been wide, and the games where we've seen her come on up top, I think she's a handful. Like, and Emily Corbett's a really young player, and I think someone said to me last week, she's in her late 20s. Like, she's not, I don't even know if she's 20 yet. Like, she's very early 20s at the most. But I personally would give her a chance. I'd give her a run of 3 or 4 games, because I don't think she's, like, her confidence is low. By all accounts, she's a really, really quiet girl. So like people like that, then like she's not going to naturally have a load of confidence on the pitch. So if you give her a run of games, like that Wexford team and those players John has spoke about there, they're going to create chances. Like, so she will score, but instead it's just about maybe a little bit of patience with her, and giving her the chance, because like that season in Athlone, like that wasn't a fluke. Like she was incredible that season, and said in that number 9 kind of on her own. So I don't know why they haven't really given her a chance, but time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah, like you're right. She's only 20, so she's still only a kid, Yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. I just get the feeling at this stage she would probably be better off getting out of there and starting afresh somewhere new, John.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there are clubs around the country crying out for number 9 who would let her play that role. Now, I don't know that she's injured at the moment, or what the story is, but she wasn't on the bench at the weekend, and it does seem that Leah McGrath, who's much younger, and Mia Linehan seem to be the preferred striking options off the bench at the moment. And like, no, Emily Corbett like showed 2 years ago how good she is when she was with Athlone. And there's we spoke about it last week. There's clubs out there, including Shells and Peamount, who are crying out for number 9. So I wouldn't be surprised if she moved on in the summer.
Yeah, interesting one. Eileen, you spoke about it already. We spoke about the attendance there, but Galway, while all this was going on, were knocking 4 past DLR and AIM in DC Park, and again, you were blown away by the quality of the performance.
Yeah, like I thought they'd win comfortably, and they probably should have won by a bit more, which can't be too critical of them either, seeing as have they scored double what every other side has scored? Is that what the commentator said? And did you check for me?
Yeah,
Because I'm not going to check, obviously.
it is.
Yeah, he was right at the time, but Treaty then got 3
Treaty
against
got
Cork
3.
City, so it
Yeah,
changed.
so,
It
like,
changed it up ever so slightly. You know?
Like, I think did you say to me that Jenna Slattery has scored more herself than a lot of teams have collectively? So, like, I mean, you can't be overly critical of them only scoring 4.
Yeah, that was correct at the time as well. But Treaty then again getting 3 against Cork City changes that stat ever so
Treaty
slightly.
really
But yeah,
ruined our night.
Jenna Slattery. Yeah. Treaty screwed us completely in every which way. Jenna Slattery has 6 league goals, and as clubs, only Athlone and Treaty have scored more than 6. Peamount have scored 6. Athlone and Treaty have 8 each, I think, and then Jenna Slattery has 6. So
Yeah. Actually, Galway United have scored more than everybody, though, because Treaty and Athlone only have scored 8 and Galway have 18 now after winning 4-0, don't they?
okay,
Yeah, so like, I mean, you can't really be critical of Galway for only scoring 4 when, like I said, if you're going to be getting goals every game. I think it was important for them to get back and score a couple after, obviously, the trip to Peamount last week. But they were excellent. They were excellent from, like, as soon as kickoff. And of course they were, because you have a really vocal crowd behind you as well. And, like, you could see the players kind of, like, the players, you feed off that, of course you do, especially when you're not used to it. Again, Julianne Russell was brilliant. She just makes so much happen for them. Like, she's just, I think she's the real difference this season for them as an attacking outlet. Her assist for Lindsay McKee's goal is brilliant, like, because again, a lot of players there will take a shot on, but she just puts it on a plate for McKee. Yeah, they're excellent, and he's able to kind of rotate. It's not that they have an excellent 11, like, they have an excellent squad, and, like, he can make the changes and know that's not going to weaken them at all. Yeah, they're a great side to watch. Like, if you were going to go watch any side of the weekend, well, you can't watch them next weekend because they're on a week off, I think. But like, they really are a very, very good side. And again, like, we spoke about the crowd earlier, but it's brilliant to watch a game on LOI TV. And I'm sure, look, I was at Turner's Cross, but I'm sure the City game is the same on TV. And to see a crowd, because I think it makes a difference to the product, like, than watching games in fields or empty stadiums. It definitely makes a difference, and, like, the noise of the crowd makes a huge difference, and it improves the product that you're watching. And I really noticed that on Saturday watching that Galway game. So, as he said, like, if they're they're setting the bar, like, on the pitch, but they're setting the bar off the pitch now as well. So, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant to see a regional club doing it. And it's not a club that are just throwing money blindly at people either. They're doing things in a really, really good way. And Galway have this really good tradition of producing excellent footballers. And now they're being given a place to play a really great style of brand of football, and they're going to be successful. They're going to be bringing trophies there. Like, there's no doubt in my mind about that over the next couple of seasons. There'll be trophies coming back to Galway, and instead that makes it more attractive, and that makes, like, local players maybe than the past that have moved across to Dublin clubs. It makes that less likely to happen. Like, so, as I said, I think a strong Galway is a really, really good thing for this league going forward as this league builds.
Finally, the weekend finished in Turner's Cross on Saturday, but John, can I just start by asking you, because you weren't able to make it to the game, so you were watching on TV. Just what did you make of the whole TV experience? I haven't seen any. I haven't had the chance to watch back the TG Carr production, so I'd just like to get your thoughts on it.
It's top class, absolutely top class. They just do such a good job. Like, even when RTE were doing men's games and they're showing up, they're going to the ground 5 minutes before kickoff, a quick chat and game on, and then they're gone immediately after the game. TG Carr, proper analysis, building it up. My Irish was at a level where I could make out a good bit of what was being said, but still, luckily enough, they didn't interview Danny and Dan Foley in Irish, so they got the managers. They got the managers before the game. They spoke to everybody. that there's loads of cameras there. There's crowd shots. You can see that kids are enjoying the game. All that kind of stuff. The stuff you expect with a professional kind of representation of the game. The game itself, to be fair, Turner's Cross looked immaculate. The pitch, it didn't. The ground didn't look particularly fun or full, because I think a lot of people did go into the Donny Ford stand in the end. But it sounded really loud. You could tell there was a good crowd in there. And 803 is a very good crowd. I mean, if we hadn't been bigging up the, breaking the attendance record, that's an excellent crowd. But look, the analysis, the commentary, just the replays, the insight into the game, even little things I know managers probably hated, but catching Danny coming off at half time for a quick chat, how things were going. It's all, it's such a good product. Like I was gutted that I wasn't able to get down, but compared the TG Carr experience with having to watch it on LOI TV, just it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, Eileen, we had to go to the Jerry Nan. We weren't allowed going to the Donny Ford. We were greeted inside the gates of Turner's Cross by a really aggressive volunteer who insisted that we had to go to the Jerry Nan. So what did you make of your experience? Sorry, we're just laughing because, that volunteer is actually Eileen's mother. So that's the in joke. But yeah, what did you make of the game, Eileen?
Just, we should caveat that with, just because the club hate me, they really like my family because they're actually helpful members of society. I'm the only pest. The game, look, I think without putting on my Cork City glasses, it was probably a good game of football. I think it was, as I said, it was a good game to have on TV, but City were really disappointing. Really, really disappointing. But as disappointing as they were, I think Treaty were that good. Treaty were excellent. It's my first time seeing them live, obviously, this season, and they just have so many good players. But for me, I suppose probably the tale is Dominic Foley 1, Danny Murphy 0, because I think he had one up in him. He's done his research and what's worked really well for City in the last few weeks, and he just nullified it. I think probably maybe City weren't helped with. I think Dorothea Groylick had a bit of a niggle during the week, so she wasn't 100%, and came off early enough in the second half. But they just cut off the supply of ball into Colleen. There was no space for her to run into. We spoke, and you have spoke very well of Van Dulder on this podcast, Decky, and it was my first time really seeing her properly, and I thought she was incredible. She just totally nullified the threat of Eva. Wherever Eva went, she went. She was just moving. She just sat in front of that back four that were quite deep, that didn't allow Colleen to run in behind, and we just didn't react to it. The sideline, I spoke really positively of our sideline last week, but I think our sideline got it really badly wrong, and they just weren't reactive at all this week. And by the time they did react, it's too late. It's way too late. And if we can see this sitting in the crowd, surely 4 or 5 coaches and a manager can see that this is happening. A big problem for City is putting 2 performances together back to back. They can't do it. And like a wise man said, the highs can't be too high and the lows can't be too low. And that's grand for us as supporters. For us to come on here last week and be bouncing because we beat Sligo. But the issue was, now when I look back at it, is that's the way the whole management and the squad were as well. Even on social media and stuff like that, and just tone it down a little bit, because it's just one win and you can get carried away in it. And the reality is one win, but you're straight back into it on Monday for another game. And I think we were the same off the win in Bowes. We got high after it, and then it kind of went, and it was disappointing in DLR. So on the basis of that, I am expecting them to be very good against Shamrock Rovers. But look, it's a learning curve. It's a really young side. But it's going to be about putting a couple of performances together, because again, really good crowd in the ground last night. 800 is a brilliant crowd. It's a late kickoff. The game's on TV. All the local cup finals are on as well down in Cove for the day. The underage Cork League finals, and you have 800 in there. They gave them nothing to come back for, because we didn't really create much, and that's the disappointing one. We're home 3 weeks in a row, and you want these crowds coming back in again. The players afterwards and they were they were gutted. Like, the players are absolutely gutted after the game. They stayed and gave everyone their time, as they always do. But it's just disappointing from a City point of view. And I think that's something they need to learn the next time they get a win. Just it's just a win. It's one win. You regroup and you go again, and you don't dwell too much. And as said, like, if I want to get really high, that's fine, because I'm a supporter, and I've 1,000 other things to do during the week, and I can just judge you next week anyway. Like, it doesn't make any odds to me. But like, as a player, I think it's an important thing to learn. Like, you get 3 points, you go again, because that's the nature of a league. And instead, you don't want to be too critical. They're a young side, but yeah, that's kind of the next step for them now, putting two performances back together. But really impressed by Treaty. And look, maybe ultimately, if you're watching, and I'm sure there'll be, if in the off chance there were some of Cork City listening to the podcast and I roll, like, maybe the difference between a side that's invested heavily in their women's side and a side that really hasn't invested heavily in them at all.
I think that's pretty fundamentally what it comes down to be honest. John, to be fair, I do want to be more appreciative of Treaty and what they did well in the game, rather than kind of concentrating on how poor Cork City were, because I do believe that there's a lot of it is Treaty made Cork City be poor, and how they went about the game. They sat deep, as Eileen said. They took away that ball to Colleen. And when they took Colleen out of the game, and they did it in two ways, as Eileen said, Van Dulder is just screening in front of the back four. But the back four is deep anyway. It's almost on the edge of their area for 90% of the game. So there's no room for Colleen to run in behind. And Kayla Kyle is just sitting in her pocket. Everywhere Colleen went, Kayla Kyle went with her. And I was critical of Kyle the week before. I thought she should have done better for the corner against Bowles. And she should have, but she was magnificent on Saturday. Tanya White was very good. Van Dulder was very good. Ikeza, the girl at left back, was outstanding. You know, I'm a big fan of Grace McInerney at right back anyway, you know. So the back four were excellent. They had the screen. Van Dulder was a joy to watch in a six, just screening, taking that ball away from Colleen, or not allowing that ball to Colleen the whole time. But the big issue was, when they took away Cork City's plan A, Cork City didn't have a plan B. It was almost shrugging the shoulders, looking around, going, right, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah. Look, it is a very young team, and you know, and look, they're developing and they're growing and all that. But look, that was my kind of takeaway from it as well. When you could see very early on, Treaty were sitting deep, Van Dulder was sitting in front, Kayla Kyle was on it, Colleen wasn't getting a sniff. I think if City have a weakness at the moment, it's building anything down the wings. We just don't get behind the fullback enough. And that kind of led to the goals then as well, because we didn't really get down the wings at all. You don't have the long ball, or you don't have Colleen running into space. So you're trying to play through a Treaty side who are very well set up. When we were playing the ball out of the back, Niamh and Heidi were going so wide that if we were to lose that ball, there was a big gap up the middle straight away. Like, Katie Lawley nearly got in just before she scored, and one of our better players this year, who probably doesn't get enough credit, is Alex Mendez. Alex Mendez absolutely busted gut to get over and make that chance as difficult as she could. But the goals really came from Treaty pressing, making us play into where they wanted us to play, winning the ball, turning it over, and hitting hard. And that's what it came down to. And I do think we do need to. I think, like, the last time we went into the All-Ireland League, like, we made 9 changes, and I don't think that did anybody any favours, because, like, that's not something you're going to translate into the league game. You know, you're practically playing a new 11. So the next All-Ireland League game, if we've got Cliftonville coming down, let's have a look at a couple of other options. Like, Aoife Robinson played the 19s today. I know she's only getting back to fitness, but she's an absolute baller. Like, I know it was the 19s and all that, but she ran the show. She was excellent. I think Barrett Ison, we have to have a look at her. And look, I don't know how Shauna McCarthy's not getting on the pitch at the moment. I'll be straight out about it. I think our strongest left-hand side is probably Shauna sitting behind Ciara Sinna. I know Ciara plays for Ireland at left back, but I think a little bit like Leo Leary, she offers a lot going forward. and I do think we need to look at that. But look, the other thing as well, of all the players, I thought Niamh Cotter was outstanding, but she really stood up, and for a girl that's that young, she was immense.
Look, I mean, you talk about the left-hand side and the rest of it, and as I said, I want to give Treaty all the credit. They could sit deep because they knew they had that outball in Cara Griffin and her speed and her quickness. Ciara Senna got no protection in front of her. She got no help in front of her. So every time she was faced with Griffin was doing 90 miles an hour by the time she got anywhere near Ciara Senna. And it's very, very difficult to stop anybody then. Obviously, the second goal comes from that. They're busting a gut. Lana Friesian gets up there and gets on it and puts it away. Katie Lawley was excellent up top as well. Her finish for the first goal, Eileen, is pure class. And it just did look like, at the end of the day, a side that has had significant investment in it turned over a side that has found players and is better than it is last year, but doesn't have any significant investment in it. And I thought the 3-0 at the end of the day was a very fair reflection, not just of the game, but probably of the level of investment that both clubs have also put into their squads.
Yeah, very much so. And like, if you remember the City Treaty game towards the end of last season where we won 1-0 out in Bishopstown, like, Cara Griffin, that game was excellent. Like, and she was making those runs. The only difference was she didn't really have anyone around her. Like, so it was probably going, and the difference with her now suddenly, because she has good players around her, like, she looks as good as she is. You know, at times it maybe got lost at times last season for her, but as you said, like, her pace is frightening, but like, you have to be aware of that. Like, if she's causing trouble in a much weaker Treaty side last season, of course she's going to cause a lot of trouble in a side that's just, they're excellent. Like, and the other thing that stands out to me, and it just goes to show, like, if you have an off day in the league as well, you're going to be punished, like, because like, they lost in Dalymount the week before. Do you know what I mean? And that's one off game they've had, and they've lost. And I think that speaks really well for the league, because it said, and really well for Treaty, but how they bounced back as well. Maybe that was a bit of a kick in the arse for them. And I spoke last week and we were maybe a bit concerned about the TV thing. And I spoke to people in the ground after the game, and there was a kind of a sense around that maybe the occasion did kind of get to City a little bit. If they're pushing, I think, for big attendances and stuff, I don't think there's a big need to be maybe trying to get players to do too much in the week of a game. Just let players worry about the football, and there's people employed by the club to try to get crowds and stuff like that. We're expecting a huge amount as a football club from our squad. We're expecting them to train a couple of nights a week, train on their own time, play a match at the weekend. It involves a lot of travel. And then we're expecting them to go in and visit schools and visit clubs, and like, just let them play football. Like, there's people, as said, employed by the club that are being paid to do this. Stop expecting amateur players to go out and behave like professionals, because we expect, as a football club, and I know this is a League of Ireland pod, but I'm speaking as a Cork City fan, I see our women's players who are unpaid out more in the community and in schools and in clubs than I do our paid professional male players. And it's not good enough. Let them worry about football and stop getting them to do 101 other things, because it's taken away from them with what they want to be doing. Okay. And let them deal with it on match day, and let them, whatever, if it's a summer camp or something like that, but just let them concentrate in football. We're expecting too much of them at the moment, and it's not fair. There's no other club expecting it of their players. There's no other club that I see rolling players out at the opening of an envelope. Like, give the players a chance to recover and to do what they do, and that is play football.
Okay, do you know what? I'm going to leave it there. I'm just going to move on now, because it's the best place to leave it. Just a side note to that, I thought this was very funny. They did a raffle. We all bought tickets going in, pre-game. There was a lovely hamper there, and so they announced the winning ticket at halftime and said, "Look, whoever has the ticket, please meet us at the halfway line." So the guy next to us, Eileen, won the raffle. He was delighted with himself, and he was like, "Where was I supposed to meet them?" So I said, "The halfway line." It's all right, yeah. And next thing, he opened the gate onto the pitch and headed off across the pitch, heading for the halfway line, which was kind, it was an understandable thing to do the way it was announced. So he kind of got across, and the subs were looking at him, and they were kind of going, what's going on here and the rest of it. So he doubled back, and he came back over, and he started asking people what he should do. So somebody said, just walk up around and see what happens. So instead of walking across the pitch, he was walking around the perimeter of the pitch, but he's still inside the fence, So he's heading across, and Barry Cotter from the Munster Football Association is standing at the tunnel. Obviously, he's minding his pitch with his life, since it's just been reopened. So he's standing at the edge of the tunnel, and your man's walking past him, and you can see Barry said to him, what are you doing? Come off the pitch, kind of thing. And I said, I won the raffle, and he's, pointing at the thing, and he's like, so look, and he points over at the corner. He says, I'll go off over there. Now there is a walk area there, where you can double up and into the edge of the stand, and then walk down and head around to the back of the stand. So what he figured out that what they meant by meet us at the halfway line was at the back of the Donny Ford stand at the halfway line, where there's a meeting room there and things like that. So that's where he's heading for. So he said to Barry Cotter, look, you could see him pointing over, going, I'll get off over there. But if he got that far, he would have walked across the set that TG Cahill were using for the analysis, the halftime analysis and the rest of it. So I was sitting I was just praying that he was going to get past Barry Cotter, and at some stage, John, you would have seen a Cork lad live in TG car walk across the step, going, how you girls, and keep going and head for the thing and God, but he didn't. Barry Cotter dragged him down the tunnel, and I presume threw him out the back door on the front of the shed stand and sent him off around the corner. But it was brilliant as it happened, but it could have been so much better if he had got as far as the TG car, because I have no doubt the same guy was just going to keep going, as I said, straight across the set. Don't care it's live television or anything else. Oh yeah, I'm going over to collect my hamper, so it was good, but it could have been, it could have been brilliant. It could have been brilliant.
Hey there, Toe Tapper. This podcast is sponsored by NordVPN, and we have a deal of a lifetime. So listen up. Are you still surfing the web with all your personal info hanging out? That's like going to Fountainstown with your Mickey dangling for all to see. But fear not, my digitally exposed friend. NordVPN is here to hide your pecker. With NordVPN, you can cloak your online presence faster than the club counts gate receipts. Say goodbye to those pesky ad trackers and hello to streaming shows from all over the globe. Want to watch a dodgy stream without it buffering? NordVPN might just make it happen. And hackers trying to steal your data? They'll have better luck finding Kimberly Mikado in the tea room. NordVPN's got more layers of security than the VIP section on match day. So what are you waiting for? Get NordVPN today and surf the web with style, security, and a sprinkle of quirkiness. Go to nordvpn.com/toetap for our exclusive deal. It's practically free. You miserable.
Very quickly, guys, before we finish up, we'll just have a very quick look ahead to next weekend. It's round 7. All games are on Saturday. As we mentioned, Galway are off next weekend. The day opens up with DLR at home to Shells, 3 o'clock in the UCD Bowl. Eileen, I'm going to make a prediction here and put my head on the plate again. I'm 2 for 2 the last 2 weeks, but I'm going to say Shelbourne will win this game.
I don't know how you do
3 for 3.
How you do it every
hopefully.
week. I just don't know, Declan. Do you know you're a man for the big calls, aren't you, in fairness to you?
Yeah. Bookies are terrified of me now.
Oh, I'd say they are, yeah. Yeah, no, and I think Shelbourne might look at that game as maybe one where they can properly get firing, score a couple of goals and look to kick on from there. But yeah, I think DLR just be praying that Jess Gleason's back. She was out again this weekend, and in Gassy was out as well, and I think she's a loss for them too because she's one of their better performers. So I think, look, they'll be hoping they're back. And look, they've upset, like, the pitch there isn't great, and they obviously put in a great performance against Shamrock Rovers early on in the season. They were very good the game against City. So look, it's a home game for them, and they're going to fancy that they'll get a result. But yeah, you think Shelbourne will get 3 points there.
John, when that game finishes, 5 o'clock in Turner's Cross, Cork City plays Shamrock Rovers. I'm very conscious of all the knocking I gave Shamrock Rovers earlier on, because it just means they're just going to turn up in Turner's Cross and potentially do us, and it's going to be all our fault again.
I don't know. I kind of go back to what Eileen said there. I think our highs have been a bit high and our lows a bit low. I actually think Cork City will bounce back. I actually think we're playing better football, certainly, than Shamrock Rovers at the moment. And I think they're struggling to find a win. I think Colleen will absolutely wreck Shauna Fox's and Jess Hennessy's heads. I think they're both tall, very talented players, but a different bundle of energy in and around them the next night. And I actually think I expect City to bounce back. I think Treaty was an off night. I think that the players and Daniel know that themselves. I think probably played the occasion rather than the game a little bit as well, like Eileen said. But yeah, I'm actually confident that City will continue Shamrock Rovers' poor start to the season.
Interesting, because Eileen, I'll be honest with you, I disagree with John. I don't think Treaty was an off night as such from Cork City. I think we were tactically outdone. And my fear is that Treaty have now given a template to the rest of the league on how to deal with Colleen and how to deal with Cork City. And if Shamrock Rovers sit down, look at that game, as you said, they're trying to play Maria Reynolds and Aoife Kelly in the same, perfect. You can get one of them to do what Van Dulder did. You can get a Jess Hennessy or a Shauna Fox to try and do what Kayla Kyle did, and all of a sudden the template can be done again, and it then puts the questions back in Cork City. Would you have any of those same fears that there's no a template in place with how to deal with Cork City?
There might be a template in place, but you also did say earlier on that we've spoke about Piedmont having a back three and Shamrock Rovers seem to be completely oblivious to the fact. So, I'd be confident enough that, I don't think he seems to be the type of manager that sets up to face a team in a specific way. I think he just thinks this is the football we want to play, and that's it. I don't actually think Shamrock Rovers will set up as Treaty did, as they said. So obviously, of course, that is a blueprint that's there, and if teams want to use it, they will. But I think the next step for this City side is to get they got obviously the draw in Wexford, but to get a big result in the league against one of the so-called bigger sides. And I think this weekend is a good opportunity for it. Because, as I said, I think Colleen is going to have the space that she's had in the past. Because, as I said, Shamrock Rovers aren't going to come down here trying to, we're going to mark a player out of the game. They're just not going to do that. I just don't think that's in their makeup as a side under Callie O'Neill. So, and on the basis that City seem to go good, bad, we're due a good now. So my only fear is that Shamrock Rovers are due a good as well at some point, aren't they?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But I mean, okay, can I just say, if Shamrock Rovers come down here on Saturday, ignore the template that Treaty have given them and are beaten. No, if they win 4-0, well and good, no issue. But if Cork City beat Shamrock Rovers on Saturday and Shamrock Rovers ignore the Treaty template, that to me is a sackable offence. I mean, do you know what I mean? Seriously, all jokes aside, it's there. You've been shown how to deal with a side in their home ground. I know you don't want to, but you have to incorporate some bit of it. You have to realise you're not going to have all the ball, and you have to be able to incorporate some of that into your play. And if you don't, as I said, it's extremely poor coaching and almost unforgivable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think regardless of the game at the weekend, he has to be under pressure. They've invested a huge amount of money in it, and in the women's side up there, and they've nothing to show for it. And they seem to be falling further behind the sides that they want to be challenging. So there's no way. Obviously, you're not going to hear the talk of it as you would in the men's game, but there's no doubt in my mind that there's pressure on Callie O'Neill now, and he knows that as well. And the other thing at Shamrock Rovers is they've really successful under 17 and 19 sides that are really good to watch. They're really well coached. So they nearly have people maybe waiting there that can come in and maybe get that side playing a brand of football. So I do think he's under pressure. And I think if they don't get a win, if they don't get a win in Cork, I think we might see a bit of movement, we'll call it.
If they don't win in Cork, their next league game is home to Galway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be playing Galway anywhere if I'm struggling for a win, and if I'm not saying clinging on by his fingernails, but you know what I mean. If I'm under pressure, I don't want to see Galway arriving on a bus, like, in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and they it's that side, like the players, they have a brilliant squad. Like they have to be able to get them to play together. Like, and he has to figure it out very, very quickly now, because he's had a season and a good bit now, and he's not figured it out. Like,
yeah,
I do think that's the thing. They have one of the best under 17 sides in the country, one of the best under 19 sides in the country, one of the best squads in the country. So, like, everything that's gone on around the club behind the scenes, everything is delivering quality onto that pitch in Tala. And look, there comes a point where you go, are we getting a return for what we've put into it, and where does the buck stop?
Interesting. At the same time, in Markets Field, Treaty will be playing Peamount. Interesting in what I think Dominic Foley basically did to Cork City on Saturday. He now has another problem, another quandary, whatever, with how Peamount are now setting up. But Peamount also have a quandary with the quality that Treaty have. So all of a sudden it becomes a really, really fascinating game, John, that could realistically go either way. It's
probably the game of the weekend, really, in terms of, unknowns, quality player on show, how the game could go. I thought Peamount were excellent on Saturday, but then Treaty were as well. It's a funny one. I'm not. I think Treaty will adapt again to how Peamount are setting up. I think Dom Foley has shown that he can do that. He'll look at who he's playing, he'll make adjustments to it. I think they probably have the players to deal with Jetterburl a little bit better than Rovers did on Saturday. Peamount, look, like I was saying, it was a 2-horse race, Galway and Athlone last week. And you look at the table now, and everyone's played 6 games, and Peamount and Shells are back in the mix there, not too far off, and they're not really going to go anywhere, are they? Like, Eileen was 100% right. I can see Peamount just getting stronger and stronger, and I actually think they'll go down, and I think this new system's really working for them. Rovers left them in with 2 relatively easy goals. I think Treaty are a little bit better at the back than Rovers were on Saturday. So, look, it's interesting. I actually don't know what way it'll go, but my gut says Peamount.
Interesting. Eileen, just a very, very quick note. A little birdie told me that the girl that Treaty brought on Saturday very late on, Stephanie Young, to play wide, was just coming back from an ankle injury. That those were her first minutes for Treaty, but that she may be one to watch and might have something very special about her. So I presume they'll ramp up her minutes in the next couple of weeks, and probably the second half of the season. Hopefully, we might see another very good Canadian player emerge in the Markets Field.
Oh, that's just what they need now, isn't it? Another great player. Fair play. Well, the reality is, like, if we're talking about Peamount, like, going to be thereabouts, but if Treaty beat them, like, they go above them, and suddenly you're saying, oh Jesus, Eileen and John were right, Treaty really are the surprise package of the season. I was wrong.
Sorry, I did. If you go back to that episode, I did say Treaty were going to be my surprise package as well. But rather than all 3 of us going the same way, sure, I'll divert and I'll go to Sligo. But I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking to my guns. There's no issue whatsoever. Speaking of Sligo Rovers, they're home to Bows in Sligo, obviously at 7:00 on Saturday evening. Eileen, you were quite impressed with Bows yesterday in the away game against Shelbourne, so I presume you'd expect them to go to Sligo and win, especially considering the Sligo injury situation at the moment.
Yeah, but again, as Bows have proved in the past, like, they're likely to have an off day. And as I said, I don't think there's any space in this league for an off day, but like, it depends with Sligo, I guess, how many they have back for next week. I know Emma Doherty's not going to be back for a while, but after that, I'm not sure about the length of injuries. But like, on the basis of last week, 100% Bow should be going and winning. But like, this league is nuts. Like, it's nuts. And these are the type of games that you look at and you say, oh yeah, sure, Bows should win this handy. Like, and they could go and be turned over. But I'm going to I will go with a Bows win, because I was very impressed with them at the weekend, and I've been very impressed with them all season. They've had one or two off games, but where they've been punished, and as I said, maybe lessons might have been learned from those games as well. But they're a young side with a very, very good manager, I think, who's kind of adjusting very quickly as well with the squad he has. So yeah, I'd fancy them to go and get a win there.
John, finally, 7:30 in Athlone. Athlone coming off a bye week, play Wexford at home. Considering the performance Shamrock Rovers put in against Peamount coming off their bye week, Wexford might look at this and think, might be possible to catch Athlone in the hop here.
Yeah, look, if you're going to catch Athlone, you kind of have to look for something like them coming off a bye week, because they've been excellent. I don't know that Sligo is really anything that Wexford can base a huge amount off of in terms of how far they've come along. But look, they've scored 4 goals last week. They were pretty solid defensively. They have to bring that into Athlone now. I'd still fancy Athlone, but I think the fact that Wexford have scored a few goals now over the last few games is probably bodes well that hopefully that something's turning for them. I say hopefully because I said they'd finish third. But look, it's hard to look past Athlone, to be honest.
We're a long way into this pod now, and I did have a fantastic stat that I was going to have a discussion about, but I don't think we'd have a discussion about it, but I'll just throw it out there and listeners can have a look and see what happens this coming weekend. Eileen, I'll ask you, there's been 30 games played in the league so far. There's been 4 0-0 draws, which means 26 games have qualified for this stat. Of the 26 games played, how many have been won by the team who conceded the first goal?
How many games was my option from?
How many games have been won by the team who conceded the first goal in the match?
Out of how many games? Out of 30, you said?
26.
Out of 26. Yeah. I'll go for 2. Just because I just know it's going to be a stupid
half that.
Number.
1 game. 1 game.
That's a great guess. That's mad.
1 game, yeah.
That is a mad.
So just the importance of grabbing the first goal in this league is unbelievable. As I said, 26 games played. Athlone, the night they conceded the penalty to Peamount live on TG Carr, and Peamount scored first. And Athlone won it. Was it 4-1 they won in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They're the only team to win having conceded the first goal, and there has been 5 draws by teams who conceded the first goal. So of the 26 games that qualify, 20 games have been won by the team who scores first. As I said, just something to keep an eye on. First goal is so important in any league, but it seems to be unbelievably important in this league. So there you go. I know, John, you're full of knowledge again heading away tonight.
Fantastic.
Couldn't go wrong.
A good stat.
Yeah, fellas go, why'd you keep it? Why? Well, look, this is the kind of nonsense I do. Right, guys, look, we leave it there anyway. Park it there. Thank you for your time. Is there anything that you need to get off your chest? Anything more you need to get off your chest, Eileen, before we finish?
There's one thing I just like to get off my chest. If you have listened this far, there was just somebody in touch with me there during the week, and if you're Cork based, they're looking at setting up a walking football group for women, it's going to be women over 40, and look, while the girl who's running the group knows a lot of these people might still be playing 5-a-side, look, there might be people who obviously still want to play but might not be able to. So look, it's essentially football with no running, as the name would suggest, and just the rules are just a bit simplified. If you are interested, it'll be running in the Mardyke in Cork, and if you just DM the Twitter account, the Instagram account, we can send you on a number to get added to the group. But so yeah, look, we was just asked to put that out. So if anyone did have interest in walking football, and I'm not over 40 before you suggest me, Declan, because I could see your face. So yeah, just give us a shout and I can send you on the group. I have another couple of years, you langer.
You're killing my outline, like you are just killing the line I was going to go out with. So, okay, look, on that basis, so I guess all that's left to say is adios, guys, and thanks for listening.
Adios.
Adios.